You are listening to The Underground Subway with host David Alston, a podcast dedicated to giving you the strategies to live a free and better life. Here is David Alston.
Hi, I'm David Alston, host of The Underground Subway, and welcome to another edition of a podcast that is dedicated to giving you the tools and strategies needed to live a better and more successful life, a life that is full of joy and happiness. Listen, my friends, Harriet Tubman said, I would have freed a lot of more slaves if only they knew that they were slaves. That triggered a thought in me. How many of us are living a life in which we don't realize that we have things holding us back? How many of us are living a life in which we don't realize that we have restraints and things change that are stopping us from living life to its fullest? Well, this podcast is dedicated to revealing those chains, revealing those restraints, by giving you the tools needed, the expertise of our expert panelists or our expert guests that come on a regular basis and reveal to you not only the change, but reveal to you the strategies needed to live a better life, not just for yourself. I thought about that and I said to myself, if I were in the situation that Harriet was talking about, would I want to be free and yet leave my children and leave my grandchildren? No, I want everyone connected to me to be free. So I want to challenge you to sit back and listen to the guests that we have, because we're dedicated to bringing you quality and qualified guests who will share with us everything we need to know to live a better life. I'm excited about my guest for this edition of the Underground Subway. It's Gail Behrend. Gail Behrend is an engineer, author, speaker, and energy healer. Midway through a successful 20-year engineering career, she experienced a spontaneous spiritual opening which changed her life, transforming her from skeptic to seeker. Her spiritual journey eventually led her to explore human energy and alternative healing as a side vocation. A graduate of the Barbara Brennan School of Healing in Florida, she has been an energy practitioner in Vancouver, Canada for over 25 years. In addition to her corporate training development businesses, she also offers public workshops on energy and is a certified Infinite Possibilities trainer. Based on the best-selling book, Infinite Possibilities, The Art of Living Your Dreams by Mike Dooley, one of the teachers in the film The Secret. Gail recently published the second edition of her book, Energy is Real, a practical guide for managing personal energy in daily life, which she co-authored with Claudette Bouchard, a fellow energy practitioner. She loves teaching people about her subtle energy nature and empowering them to own their energy so they can truly own their lives. Welcome to the Underground Subway, Gail. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to join the conversation.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it. In reading your bio, there's a word that I noticed sprinkled throughout your bio, your introduction, and I want to talk about that word. It's the word energy. And I often do this. I haven't done it in a while, but I used to tell people that I live in North Carolina here in the United States, but I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And there's a movie called Philadelphia with Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks. And in the movie, Denzel Washington is an attorney, and he asks a witness a question on the witness stand. And then he says to the witness, now explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old. So Gail, explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old. What exactly is this word that is sprinkled throughout your bio called personal energy? What is that?
Well, that's a great question. And I like to say it's the life force and consciousness that inhabits your body. It's who you really are. It's what's looking out through your eyes. It's it's all the unseen, unphysical, the non-physical aspects of you. So your dreams, your hopes, your conscience, your feelings, your thoughts, they're not visible, but they're you. And all of these non-physical aspects of you are loosely summed up as your personal energy, including your spirit, your emotions, your thoughts, and even some of the intuitions and some of the sensations that you might have in your body that are not actually, there's not because there's anything causing them, but you might feel like the hairs stand up on the back of your neck when something happens. It's you picking up on something, right? All of that is energy awareness. So the energy is not, it's subtle. It's the subtle aspect of your being.
Okay. So is it important for us to have energy awareness? And if so, why is it important?
Yes, it's very important because ultimately it's an awareness of yourself. It's knowing you. And if you only focus on the physical, you're missing out on really understanding who you are, what's important to you, because your energy field, which is your emotions, your thoughts, your intuitions, and your own spirit, your consciousness, is essential to your sense of self and your well-being. And if you're not paying attention to it, you might be doing things that are actually not helpful to you. And you won't be aware of it until it's too late, until you after the fact, and you realize, oh, shit, I should have paid attention. I knew I shouldn't have done that, right? That part of you that knew, that subtle, intuitive part of you that you ignored and said, okay, knew something that was there for your benefit. And like we're not alone in this. All animals, all nature really has energy awareness as a natural part of their being, and we're no different. It's just that we've been taught to ignore that information in our Western culture. In other cultures, that's not necessarily the case. They accept that part of our being. But in our highly scientific Westernized culture, we're taught not to believe or trust that information and to ignore it. And so we're often ignoring very important information that we, intuitive information that we need to pay attention to, that is actually there to help us stay safe and also to help guide us in our lives. So yeah, at least in my opinion, I would say it's highly important.
What about what do you call this energy in which I'm sitting in a room or standing in a room, all of a sudden someone sneaks tiptoes up behind me, and just before they grab me or put their hands over my eyes or whatever, I sense them and I turn around. What type of, is that a form of energy awareness?
Yes, it is. It's actually our energy self, if you like, our consciousness extends beyond the physical body. It spills out, if you like, to about as far as we can reach. And that's called your energy field. So it's as if not only do you have a physical body, but you have an electromagnetic field, like a bubble, all the way around your body, or like a cocoon or an egg. And it's not visible to most people. Some people could see it, but vast majority of people can't. But we can sense it, we can feel it. And that's why if somebody's standing too close to you, for example, maybe they're not touching you, but they're like, say, a foot away. We can feel them because their energy field is overlapping ours. So what we're sensing is their energy, and it feels invasive when they do that. Wow. And by the way, David, your microphone was acting up again.
Okay.
There's something with a big motor or a big bank of lights or something that is it might be interfering with it. It's energy interference.
Now it's better, right?
Yeah, now it's better, but your volume's quite low.
Right, because I've unplugged the microphone, and and by unplugging the microphone, yeah,
that's going to be an issue. Yeah, I'm wondering maybe
maybe I can. What about now? A little better.
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So, talk to us about. You talked about energy. What about negative energy? Is that something that we need to discuss, or should we just focus on the positive energy, or talk to us about the difference between, because you would think that we automatically know the difference between positive and negative energy, but maybe we don't know what negative energy is.
Well, the easiest way to know is that positive energy feels good and negative energy doesn't. Negative energy would be, I mean, it can actually be environmental energy that's actually dragging you down. So negative energy tends to drain you, whereas positive energy energizes you, it lifts you up. And so if you're having a great time and laughing with your friends, that is positive energy. And you know, because you feel lively and energized and excited and happy. Negative energy would be if you're trapped in a party with somebody who's complaining and they're just moaning about this, that, and all they want to talk about is their last 4 operations. And you just feel your energy sort of leaving, falling lower and lower and lower, like through the floor. And you have no energy left, not even to leave. You're sort of pinned by this person because your energy's been drained and lowered by their negative energy, which is a form of, well, it's an attempt by them unconsciously. They don't know that. They're just doing what they always do. But unconsciously, they're trying to feed themselves off your energy. So one of the things that happens is energy, one of the laws of energy is it flows like water from high potential to low potential. So like water flows downhill. So if you have a lot of energy and you've got somebody who's really low in energy, like somebody who doesn't have much get up and go, they're kind of dragging themselves around and they're blaming everybody, and they're in a stuck place. They will try to feel better, and they've learned maybe from childhood, whatever, but if they get someone else's attention, it makes them feel temporarily better. And what's happening is that they're basically unconsciously sipping on that person's energy, which is why your energy is falling. So energy flows from high to low, meaning that if you're energized and you're with somebody who's less energized, and especially say somebody sick, like in the hospital or whatever, then automatically, even without you doing anything about it, your energy will start to flow to them just because of the way energy flows. And so if you're wanting to stay energized around them, you're going to actually have to do some things to keep charging yourself, and because it'll start to deplete you if you don't. And so negative energy could be summed up as energy. Could be like anger, could be guilt, it could be blame, it could be grief. It's not that it's bad; it's just low in frequency. So it's slow, and it tends to drain people. And whereas the higher frequencies are joy, laughter, love, compassion, creativity, just aliveness, all of those would be called positive energy. I hope that answered your question.
It does. It does. Talk to us, Gail, because you hinted on it, but what about that situation in which I have high energy from something? You go on a, whether it's a fishing trip with some guys. I went on a fishing trip with some buddies and I had a great time fishing. But then when you come home from the fishing trip, you're tired, you're wore down. So now your energy level is low as a result of positive energy. Is that possible, or explain that to us? I'm not sure whether that question is posed properly.
Yes, no, no, it's a good question. And it's totally possible, because that's another rule of energy. So I mentioned the first one, which is that energy flows from high to low. So that's a clue. And then the second piece is that energy flows in waves. And so we don't stay high forever. Our energy it's like our energy has to integrate. Once we've had an expanded experience, which could be any number, like your example of the fishing trip is a perfect example. You were having fun with your buddies and the joy of being in nature and all of that built your energy. And there's a point, it's almost as if we have like a thermostat. There's only so much we can take before we have to take it in. So it's like it fills our field, and then we have to bring it in and integrate it into the rest of our body and that sort of thing. So when that integration period starts, we call it a contraction. The energy is going deeper into your cells, the positive energy. It's nourishing them. And so as it does, your overall energy seems to sink, but it's really just going inward. And in our culture, we're so focused on being high and being up and energized and all of that stuff, go, 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 we don't give ourselves a chance to contract. And we really need that for health and well-being. And so after a big expansion experience, it naturally follows that you're going to need to be quiet for a while. And how long you need to be quiet depends on how much you let that contraction happen. So if you fight it, it's going to take longer, because you're draining yourself further trying to do expansive type things when your energy is actually wanting to go inward. And so the best way to deal with that is look after yourself. So after that great expansion experience, you come home, you're by yourself. That's the perfect time to say, okay, I think I'll have a nap, or I think I'm just going to read right now, or just sit in the garden. And you're just allowing your energy to go inward, nothing to do. It's a being state rather than a doing state. And if you allow that, it'll integrate much faster. And then finally, when it's finished integrating, you'll know, because you'll start to have more energy again. It'll start building energy from within you. And that's the perfect time for you. When you're in that sort of contracted state, is actually a time when your creative ideas gestate. So those ideas that they start to form in that inward state. And as the energy starts to build again, those creative ideas come to the surface. Now you have ideas and impulses that you want to try. And next thing you know, you're building into another expanded state.
Wow. Well, how can I protect myself against people that have that negative energy?
Well, the first thing is to be aware that it's going on, right?
Yeah, or just negative energy, period.
Yeah. So first of all, you look after your own energy. And so you want to make sure your own energy is strong. And so that if your energy is low as well, you're going to feel depleted, even more depleted, right? If you hang around people who are negative, complaining, and or critical, judgmental, people who pick fault in you, that, you know how that affects your self-esteem. And that's another piece. Your sense of self, your self-esteem intimately is tied in with your energy. And so when you judge yourself or someone else judges you, that seems to drop our energy. It's like it causes our energy to fall, especially if we believe what they're saying. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, some people are just being mean. But if we take it on and we accept what they're saying is true, our own energy will fall. If, however, we know who we are, and we know what they're saying is just coming out of spite or their own sense of inadequacy, then our own energy will be unaffected by it. In fact, we may find our energy moving to help them. In other words, we might say something that encourages them, or we might just say, I don't really right now, I don't think I want to be with this energy. So you will find a reason to leave. Right. So to say I need a timeout, or is that the time I have to go? So you will leave. One of the first things you could do is just get out of there, right? Right. If you can't, then what you have to do is focus on charging your own field and also protecting it from their thoughts and energy. So one way to do that, in other words, you need to build a high frequency buffer, a high energy buffer around you. By filling your field with positive energy. And one of the ways to do that, and this is something you would need practice to learn how to do, because you don't want to practice it when you are in dire need of it, when you're being surrounded by bullies or whatever. You want to practice it on your own first, just to get the hang of it. And then later, if you need to, then you can use that skill when you need to. So basically, I can walk you through that technique, and basically one of the highest frequencies is love, and gratitude is another high frequency. So what you can do, practice this on your own before you need it, is take some time to just sit quietly and bring your awareness to your heart, and as you rest in your heart, think of someone or something that you're extremely deeply grateful for. And you can bring that into your awareness and just feel your gratitude. And as you do, that energy will expand your heart. and continue holding that energy, thinking more reasons why you're so grateful, and bringing that energy will start to build. And just imagine that energy expanding into your whole body and spilling out past your skin, all the way as far as you can reach. So about 3 feet around your body, up and down, all around you. So you're surrounded by this beautiful energy of gratitude. And another one that's really very powerful is just to think of someone whom you deeply love and cherish, and are deeply grateful for them, for their very being, and just dwell on what you love about them and how happy you are that you know them, and how blessed you feel for having them in your life. That energy is extremely powerful. If you expand that, feel it as an energy actually, and it's a warm, loving energy. As you expand that, fill your whole body with it. Let every cell feel it and be nourished by it, because your love it's your love, and you can allow yourself to be nourished by it as well. And then expand it beyond your body into your field again, like I said. So you're creating this beautiful bubble filled with this high frequency energy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you want to do that before you need it. You want to practice that, until you can do it quickly. So at first it may take a while as you play with it, but if you keep practicing it, you'll get better at it. And then what you can do, there's kind of a neuro-linguistic programming tool you can use. It's called an anchor, so what you do is, when you're in that fully expanded state with your bubble in place, it's like a Teflon shield around it. It protects you from negative energy. So when you've got that in place, you can do something unobtrusive, something that's not immediately visible to somebody else. But you might, for example, just tug your earlobe or pinch your little finger of the opposite hand or something like that. And every time you practice that, do that little gesture, and that's anchoring that state in your body memory. And so it can later, if you've anchored it, you keep practicing. Every time you practice it, you do that little anchor. Later, when you need it, all you need to do is your little anchor, like pinching your little finger, and you'll automatically shift into that state. So, or you can anchor it to a word like bubble or whatever, shields up, something like some phrase, right? That you don't tell anyone, but you'd say it to yourself, right? Shields up, and think of it as like your force field, and whatever works for you, right? So what you're doing is engaging your neural pathways, your brain and your neural pathways, to create a new neural pathway for that state once you've accomplished it. And so that if you practice that enough, there will come a point where you just have to think it and you're in it. And so that protects you, having established that skill. Then if you're in a state where you ever need it, you can just say it to yourself quietly, shields up, and whoop, you're in that place of perfect safety in your own bubble. And then it doesn't matter what anyone else says or whatever they do, their energy will just fall off it. Mm-hmm. And the other cool thing about that's another cool thing, is that energy is contagious. And so if you are able to hold a high frequency like love or gratitude in your field and in your heart, other people will feel that. And it will actually positively affect them. Whether they want to or not, it will actually start raising their frequency. And so it's a nice secret weapon to have if you're ever in an argument or a situation where you're under stress, or it'll actually diffuse a lot of the stress, and people will start to forget what the argument was about, or they may change their mind and say, well, maybe you're right. And you've said and done nothing except hold a higher frequency. And people are like tuning forks. If you have two tuning forks that are machined to sound to the note of C, and strike one of them, the other one will start humming as well. And so our fields are like that as well. So that's the double whammy of being able to, put up your bubble, is that not only is it keeping you safe, but it's actually having a positive influence on the other person.
Wow. Well, Gail, how can we, I mentioned earlier about, if I'm going to be free, I want my entire family to be free. How can I help those that I love or my family with our energy? How can I influence them? Is it what you just said, just having that bubble, and do I just invite them in?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, and you can also get them to learn how, if you teach them the skills. So my book is all about those skills. So it's one, and it's got lots of exercise, like 23 different exercises in there, some of which you can do with your family members if you want. And kids love playing with energy. For them, it's fun. And so get them early, teach them early on, because it'll help them in so many ways in their life. And also there's other skills that are important too, like learning by exploring your own energy field, finding out who you are, what's important to you, and also where you hold wounding from the past, right? Because that's going to affect how you relate to others. If you have, say you experienced bullying as a child, right? And say the person that bullied you was, say, blonde or red-haired or whatever. There's some unique characteristic about them. That experience, that little painful experience, gets imprinted in your psyche as a child, and you start to not trust people with blonde hair or red hair or whatever the person was. The brain will latch onto anything, right, as kind of important information, whether it really is important or not, and so it'll raise a flag. Red hair, potential bully. Watch out, And this could get in the way. For example, if you're going for a job interview,
Right.
and the person who's interviewing has red hair, I mean, suddenly you feel nervous and more anxious than you would normally, right? Because that childhood imprint got triggered. So it's really important as part of your own growth to begin to identify. So where are my triggers, and what are they, and what caused them? And, the circumstances may have been right at the time when you were a child, that was the best you could do, right? But now that you're an adult, you've got way more resources than you had when you were 5. Right. And so you don't have to respond with terror or even, maybe fight back when it's not justified for what is the actual circumstance. So you need to be able to discern, when your response is because of a childhood imprint, or whether it's genuinely because of a specific thing going on. So you need to discern the difference. And that's why it's really important to get to know your own energy, because your energy field is where you store those imprints. So it's where you keep all the conclusions you drew about life as a child based on your experiences growing up, right? And the stuff you were taught by your parents, but also the conclusions you drew at an early age before you really knew how to think properly. This is good, this is bad, watch out for this, watch out for that red-haired people, whatever. And so it's worth examining those, because unless you do, they're still operating at an unconscious level, and they'll affect your behavior and how you treat certain people and how you feel around certain people. So that's an important piece, is getting to know yourself and what's going on in your energy field, which means your emotional state, your beliefs, your thought, what you're telling yourself. And because what you're telling yourself also affects how you feel. Right. If you tell yourself you're a loser and you'll never do something, you'll never amount to anything, maybe because somebody told you that when you were little. If you're still telling yourself, they're gone, right? They've moved on, but you're still telling it to yourself. So it's like you've embodied the very abuser you had when you were little, even though they've moved on. So it's really worth noticing that's going on, and then taking steps to change that, to release that, so that it's no longer influencing your life.
Well, Gail, we're running out of time. The old expression, time flies when you're having fun, is certainly true.
Yes.
But tell us, in the short time that we have left, the purpose of this podcast is to help others to live a better life, how can we utilize our energy to help the world, to make the world a better place?
Oh, that's such a wonderful question. Well, first of all, I hinted at it, that we affect others with our own energy. So the first thing is to take care of your own energy so that you can model it. You can model a positive energy to others, especially those, who look up to you and are in your family and that sort of thing. But also your energy does affect others. And so people will feel, if you're able to hold a positive energy, people will be attracted to you. They'll want to know more. They want to know, what are you doing that's different? And so you get a chance to start sharing with them what you've learned from your experiences. And so spreading the word, which is my passion, spreading the word that your energy is important, and there are things that you can absolutely do to change your energy state in the moment and to get clear so that you can make better decisions going forward.
Wow. Well, Gail, how do we get in touch with you? How do we get a copy of your book or any material that you have?
Well, the best and easiest is to go to my website, which is energyisreal.com, all one word. And there you can get you can sign up to get a free sample of the book, the first chapter, which is all about the sensing it, learning to sense energy. And it includes 6 exercises that are fun to play with your kids and friends and that sort of thing. And there's also some free audio recordings of those 6 exercises, so that you can listen to the recording and do the exercise as you're listening. And also, there's some frequently asked questions about energy there. There's some, I've listed some research links for those who want to look into the science behind it. So I've linked to several websites that offer scientific research and papers for those who want to learn more. And I'm also available. I also give sessions to help people explore and clear energy. And I also give workshops and that sort of thing too, online for those who want to learn more. So, and I post those events on my website when they're coming up, so people can consider trying that out if they're interested.
That's wonderful. Well, Gail, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on the Underground Subway.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was fun to talk to you and to explore my favorite subject.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us here on the Underground Subway. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I hear the music playing in the background, which means we are pulling this train into the station. We are approaching Success Boulevard and Destiny Avenue. And although it is time for you to hop off this edition of the Underground Subway, there will be another edition coming soon. I want to let you know that I don't take it for granted that you are taking time to listen while you're on the treadmill, at work, in the car, wherever you are. I appreciate you. Listen, my friends, before we go, you know the routine. I want to challenge you before you go to bed tonight. I'll challenge you to find a mirror. And I want you to look yourself right in the eyes, and I want you to ask yourself a question. Today, did I do something to work toward my purpose? Did I do something to work toward my destiny? Did I do something to make the world a better place? Or did I simply waste another day? Think about that. We got no more time to waste. I'm David Alston, host of the Underground Subway, and we'll talk to you next time right here.
Wanna hear you go.